at Sibos there's thousands of people, so sometimes it's quite hard to get a sense of what the key issues are. But now I'm joined by someone who is the voice of the industry. It's Tod Burwell, the President and Chief Executive of BAFT. Welcome. Hi, Tod.
Morning, Jane.
Hi. So I think we last did a video interview in Osaka, and then the big industry issues were Basel III and how that was affecting trade finance. So since then, how have your issues changed?
So Basel III is progressing along. We're pleased to say that there's been some progressive changes to Basel III that will provide some capital relief for banks involved in trade finance. We're working on some of the liquidity framework, and many of the countries that are involved are going through different stages of implementation. So that still is a challenge trying to manage through the implementation, but I think from a policy perspective, there has been some progress made. The biggest issues that are facing banks in the industry today tend to be around financial crime, which is a pretty broad topic, and it's pretty comprehensive, but it can include sanctions, it can include anti-money laundering, counter-terrorist financing, customer due diligence as part of Know Your Customer, as well as potentially cybercrime. It is a massive, massive issue.
And that falls in line with the September issue of The Banker. We did a cover story on cyber attacks and cybercrime. Yeah. So what is it at BAFT that you're actually doing?
So we're trying to approach this from three levels: from a policy level, from an education level, and then also from a practical tools perspective. From a policy level, we've started by hosting a dialogue, which we think is the most important place to start. So we had about 40 members of the public sector and the private sector in a colloquium that we held in London, along with some other organizations, to just generate a dialogue around financial crime regulations and what some of the unintended consequences of that are, and how the industry can work together with regulators to make sure that good commerce is not interrupted by trying to weed out the bad movers. So that was one thing from a policy perspective. We're also working on some policy papers around that topic. From an education perspective, it's really helping our members understand the implications of sanctions that are issued, how they apply to transactions that they're trying to process, and then from a tools perspective, it's being able to sort through the interpretation of the regulations from different countries to help them to better identify red flags and to understand best practices and levels of due diligence.
So what's the biggest challenge for banks then? What's the main area where they're lacking in this area? What do they need to do?
I think it's clarity and standards. Those are the two words that we hear most often, particularly for banks that are operating in multiple jurisdictions. There are different interpretations of what the standards or what the regulations say, and that can really pose a challenge when you're trying to put a framework together to manage a very complex global business. So we're trying to help with that process.
Great. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.